Hi guys, I want to talk about, already done a video about a certain field that um, was close by to where I live. Not exactly, but it was, um, I was talking about an actual field. So now I'm going to do the history of that field. I found some more information um, about that field, and I'm going to do it decade by decade. So, um, uh, how it got changed, because each decade has its own texture, and this is going to be a timeline of the landscape that's shifted from open countryside to what it is now, but it's not anywhere near where I live. So it's just a very long way from where I live. So I thought that might be a bit interesting. So I'll start off with 1900s to 1910. So it was open farmland. So the field was it was part um, it was part of a field with long grass, hedgerows marking boundaries, grazing animals, a few footpaths worn into the soil, wide open views across Stanley. No houses, no fences, just rural land. 1920s, quiet, unchanged countryside. So the land stayed agricultural. Stanley was still a village surrounded by fields. So it was simply another strip of field that was close by. So the changes was hedges trimmed differently, occasional ploughing and seasonal crops or grazing, but there were still no buildings. So in the 1930s, early hints of development that was nearby. Stanley began to grow, and in that field remained a farmland. Nearby roads were improved, but the land stayed open. So it was the same field, maybe a new fence line, making a track, maybe a track used by farm workers, but it's still a countryside. 1940s, wartime landscape. During the war, more farmland was used for extra food production, grazing, sometimes allotments. So it all stayed as a pasture or crop field, but there were still no houses, no gardens, just working land. 1950s, the first sign of change. So this is when Stanley began expanding more noticeably, but just specific plots was still a field. So surveyors occasionally working the land, boundary markers appearing, the first hints that housing might come, but the field was still intact. 1960s, the transformation begins. So this is the decade when the land it stopped being a field. So developers bought the farmland, marking out plots, laid early road plans, levelled the ground, and removed old hedgerows. So it was open soil. Some of it started being open soil, but it was no longer a farm field. It was now future housing land. In the 1970s, it takes shape. So this was the landscape where it changed dramatically. So it became a building plot, then a shaped patch of soil. There are newly laid lawn or bare earth. The road, pavements and fences appeared. The field was gone, replaced by a modern estate. In the 1980s, the garden began to be it wasn't a field anymore. It just became a garden. So now the grass was established, fences were added, and shrubs and small trees planted. The estate matured, so it looked like a garden and not a field. So in the 1990s to 2000s, you're sitting into a modern shape. So the land stabilised, neighbours that added their touches. The estate became part of Stanley's everyday landscape. So it was now fully defined, fenced, maintained, part of a living in community. 2010 to 2020s. So it's a land that was open countryside for centuries, farmland until the 60s, a building plot in the 70s, a maturing garden from the 80s onwards. So there we go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this this video and many others that I've done. Please like and subscribe. Thank you very much.